What's going on, everybody? So tonight we're going to be talking about the Newton running momentum. Oh boy. So I started with Newton. I thought about it the other day, and it was back in 2013 is when I got this shoe right here. The Newton Distance S. Take a look at this thing. Oh man, it's all beat up. Oh my gosh, I call this one the McDonald's shoe. This one I got in Hawaii. Using this as an example because I've been with Newton for a long time. Fast forward to 2018, here comes along the Distance Elite. Now this shoe actually was quite fun, and I believe they still make this actually, and there's so much ventilation here. It's just one of the shoes that really got me into Newton, but look how much I had to bring in those laces. Oh my gosh. And so now here we are, fast forward to 2024, and they have this new model that has come out. It is the Momentum, and I gotta say, it is a lot different than the Newtons that I remember from the ground up, but from the ground down, here it is. These are the Lugs, L-U-G-S, that go on the bottom of all Newton shoes and really give them their signature flavor, if you will. You know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Lugs. There's a 4 and a 5 combination, but this one has 5, and then they make other shoes that have a different arrangement. But basically the idea here is for action reaction, meaning you come down onto these lugs here, which sit directly under the ball of your foot, kind of where the bones you know, kind of match up with your toes, and you know, that's kind of the arrangement that I believe they're going for here. And then really you know, you come down into the ground and then you pop away. I'm explaining this first before we jump into the full details of the shoe, because this shoe is unlike this company. Is there's no category for it except Newton versus Newton, and that's it. And I gotta say, you know, the general feel of the shoe is very interesting. It's very honest. It's very interesting. So let's jump into the full top-down in-depth review of the Newton Momentum, starting now. So you know how I like to start with the laces. Oh my goodness, Newton, what is happening here? There is so much lace, and this is after I cinched it up with the runner's loop and really got it, and I'll talk about that here in a second, why that's important. But man, okay, so the length is one thing. It's not a short lace. Not at all, not even close. But the laces are actually really nice. They are kind of squishy, kind of fluffy. They got a little pillow to them. They don't really have much stretch at all. And again, they just are, you know, for days. There's miles. If you ever are caught in a survival situation and you happen to have this shoe on with this brother over there, you're gonna have paracord. You can make a tarp out of this thing. You can make a tent. You can do survival classes with these laces. It's great to know that you can do that with these Newton. Oh man, moving into the tongue, there it is on your screen. It says Momentum right here. So this tongue is actually, you know, it doesn't feel initially very ventilated or even very plush, but you know, you get it on the top of the foot and it actually does really well. As well with the eyelet chain, how there's a decent amount of space here compared to the Elite back there, that, you know, it's not really bunching and scrunching up, and then is able to kind of move back and forth and adjust over the top of the foot, again giving a nice, you know, pretty decent lockdown. Not the best lockdown, but it's pretty decent. And there is some really good ventilation towards the top of the shoe, but that also could be playing it through the upper, which we'll talk about here in a second as well. And so check this out. This tongue does come up quite a ways, and it does sit nicely on the top of the foot. There's not really a whole lot of, you know, special stuff going on as far as where it touches the foot. There's a label that comes right up there, but that label is not obtrusive or irritating to my foot at all. There are these little mini gussets in there on the B-roll. You can see it a little bit better, that kind of keep that tongue from sliding left to right. As well, you know, I forgot to mention there is a loop here for the runner's knot as well. Taking a look at the upper, this is actually one of the nicer uppers. This material is not scratchy. It is a nice woven material. It has a lot of ventilation. So this is a gender-based air mesh that Newton is making, and it is very comfortable, very ventilated, especially here in the toe box. You know, I'm just kind of feeling around here for all the perforations, and it goes way over here towards the lateral side of the shoe, towards the medial side of the shoe. You know, you can probably see my fingers going through there, maybe not. But then it gets around to the heel, and there's just no ventilation whatsoever. It has it on the outside here, but you know, there on the heel collar around where the heel sits in, there's simply no ventilation holes at all. But it also, you know, there's quite a bit of structure here. So, you know, moving into the heel of the shoe, there is quite a bit of padding, guys, you know, towards the lateral medial side. It's really comfortable. And taking a feel of the heel pocket here, you know, this heel pocket actually reminds me a little bit of the On Cloud Runner Next, which I don't have. It's upstairs. But you know, there was a decent memory foam mattress pillow going on in that one. This one's not quite as plush as that memory foam sort, but it is wide. You know, there's not this big deep well, you know, which kind of is very, very sharp and acute. It's just a nice little pad that goes here across the back of the foot, around the heel bone, and then there's just a gentle little crevasse, little cavern for that heel to sit in. That said, I didn't feel heel slippage. What I felt was just it would have been nice, because, you know, I cinch this up, I have the runner's loop, and I expect that the heel to come in and really kind of snug it in and adapt with the rest of the foot. But it didn't feel that way. Like, the rest of the shoe got super tight and very secure, but the heel just didn't want to participate. You know, just kind of hung out. Again, didn't have any heel slippage going up or down hills. In fact, I did quite a hilly course with this, plus a flat one, and you know, it just didn't. It didn't want to come in, it didn't want to play, all right? But it also didn't slip. So I guess what I'm saying is it's a nice, comfortable heel without any slippage that doesn't feel particularly tight, which actually, for folks out there with any kind of sensitivity, or especially around their heel, their Achilles, that actually might be a plus for them now that I'm thinking about it. So maybe Newton's onto something there with this particular design. Interesting. So thinking about the lockdown of the shoe. So the lockdown here, it is very secure. In fact, it's almost a little too secure. I got to lacing it up, and I put it on, and it was okay, but then I really cinched it down, you know, across the you know, what I do normally is I grab, you know, just all these laces here, really give them in. You know, I'm not trying to make a tourniquet, but I do want a nice secure fit just to get a good feel of the shoe, to remove any excess play that might be working against the shoe, especially in the form of review and talking to you guys. I want to get that experience, and I usually engage the runners not just to get the full experience. So when I did that, what happened is the lateral side of the shoe really felt that it came in and up and around and participated with the top here, you know, especially the lateral side, but the medial, it just didn't feel like it wanted to, you know, do the same as the lateral side here. So it was not equal. It felt very one-sided. You know, there was a little bit, again, from the medial side, but not so much the lateral. So it just felt like an uneven distribution of pressure across the top of the foot, which, you know, initially was noticeable, but as I got going, it actually, again, it made sense because of the way this shoe is designed to be run in, and we will get into that here in a second. But I think that all these things they're kind of purpose driven. Newton's been around since 2007. We actually had this discussion in the comments the other day, and they've been building shoes like this for that long. So I'm pretty sure that they got their recipe down. Just a very interesting shoe. And so getting my fingers into the toe box, kind of feeling around for any folks with, especially that have sensitivity, bunionettes or bunions, and I'm feeling along for any lumps or bumps or protrusions along the first MTP joint, and I'm not really feeling anything that would be over the top irritating, but there's also like no sidewall whatsoever. So if you have a foot that wants to slide over the side here and you depend on those little bumpers, then this is not the shoe for you. And then over here towards the fifth toes here, there actually is a little bit of a sidewall, and there is a little bit of material that kind of works its way all the way up towards the back of the shoe, just so you know for what's going on inside as far as the sidewall sidewalls go with the Newton running momentum. Newton running line is just so interesting. Alrighty, so we're gonna pull out the liner of the shoe. So here's a certified vegan shoe and liner, and that's just fantastic. This is probably one of the funnest inserts that I've had all year. You got Newton written down here, you got these fun little toes going on here. This piece, it's rubbed off. So the durability of the sticker is 0. It's fine. Basically, it's saying that there was a bunch of water bottles recycled to make this here insert, and that's great. And so basically the thing that's really fun is how many millimeters there are for this particular insert. It is so comfortable, and it goes into this Newtonium H footbed, and you know, you can kind of see inside here that white. It is nice and bouncy. It is part of the foam, it's part of the midsole, but it's a special liner on the top of the midsole called the Newtonium H footbed, and it does well, really well with the insert as it sits inside on top of the footbed here and just kind of cradles the bottom of the foot. You know, you're not feeling like you're sinking down. You do feel a little bit like you're sitting on top of the shoe, but again, that's kind of how these Newtons feel. And then of course you have, you know, the really secure feel from the lateral side of the shoe, so it's kind of pulling it over this way, more towards the first toe, especially as you're running along. But that's, you know, balanced a little bit with the insert here. So again, you know, it sounds like they're really thinking these shoes through. And then getting my hands into the shoe and feeling, especially for the toe box, wow, that is a lot of structure actually. So here's one thing that I really enjoyed about this shoe is that this toe box is really nice actually. It allowed my first toe connected to the rest of my foot there, that first ray, to really be involved. In fact, not just the first toe and then the first ray, but actually that first MTP joint, and we have to talk about it now. But basically I could feel how these lugs worked with the ball of my foot. Or, you know, I'm kind of pointing to where you can't see, but I can feel it. I'm pointing to where my first MTP would be, and it's actually kind of it's here, you know, right here. So basically, you really, when you go to size these shoes, you want hang on, I'm going to show you my foot. We're getting flexible, y'all. Really, where my thumb is, you really want this part of your foot to be directly over that one leg. Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. I thought it was more flexible than that. 41 years old, I'm getting a cramp down here. Oh man, the things we're doing on this channel, guys. That first ball, that joint wants to be right over here. It's kind of that strong part of the foot, and it really wants to utilize this ART, action reaction technology. The cramp's gone. Thanks for asking. All right, so moving into the midsole, this is the Newtonium T PIBA base midsole. And so this is a very interesting material. I mean, right here, you can see like how flexible this is. It is so twisty and bendy. It doesn't feel like any PIBA that we have down here in the shoe lab. And I know that, you know, we can compare this to other Newtons here. And there are other Newton running shoes that involve this Newtonium here. So it would be interesting to kind of see how those compare. But it doesn't really feel super springy. That said, there are some rear foot landing capabilities of the shoe, but the real meat and potatoes is right here. And so the rest of this foam feels nothing, zero, like over the top of these lugs here. Even with the stack height, it's not that much. It's 26 in the back and 20 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop. But then you have, again, this stuff here. So I would almost consider this as part of the stack height, since, you know, a majority of your focus of your foot strike is going to be on the bottom here. So whatever this height is here, I would consider that in the stack height. That said, it would be interesting to know exactly what material is going on directly above these lugs here, because these lugs are a super hard material, and it looks like they're probably just bouncing right into this really soft PIBA base Newtonium H midsole material. These lugs are bouncing directly into this Newtonium T PIBA base midsole material. Having a look at the durometer of this midsole here, so there's two different ones. There's a harder one on the top and a softer one on the bottom. We're gonna start with the Newtonium H footbed here, and then at the top here we've got 28 towards the 5th toes, and towards the lateral heel we've got 36. Towards the medial heel we've got 35. Towards the first toe we got 35. And now jumping down to that bottom layer here, the one below that blue line, again around the 5th toe, 26. The lateral heel, 19. Whoa, that's soft. All right, medial heel, 31. Interesting. First toe, we've got 38. Now, just above the material of the lugs, super hard, 76. That is rock solid. Towards the medial, and then towards the lateral, same thing, 71. Super duper hard. All right, let's test the bottom. So the bottom foam is 30. Around the heel, 47, it's pretty soft. Then the lugs themselves, 63. Definitely some harder material there. Interesting numbers with the Shore A durometer of the momentum here. All right, so since we're on the topic, the ride and energy return of this shoe. So I have done a couple of runs in this particular shoe, and I've done a bunch of runs in the old Newtons as well. There is a definitive sweet spot as far as these lugs go. And so I was thinking, why the independent lugs? You know, it's been going on for so long, you know, why not just do like a single piece and have that be, you know, your up and down and in and out. And then I started to think, well, you know, the foot, the way it's shaped, at least for me, like the bottom of my first toe joint is independent and lower and can be flexible compared to the other 4 toes. And so whatever is happening in one toe joint over these lugs, once you have your foot in the proper place for these to really do their thing, you know, you might have some action going on over here depending on how you land, or maybe over here based on how you land. And then of course, as you're running within the shoe, as the terrain varies. So they're really like independent suspension pieces that do have some flexibility, you know, and it has a very interesting feel, and to the point that there is almost like an audible and palpable cue that goes along with this shoe. I found myself running at a very consistent and what I would consider a higher cadence with this shoe, to the point that I just let that cadence, which turned out to be close to 170, by the way, and I didn't even really think about like leaning forward or changing my pace. I just kind of wanted the shoe to tell me what it was doing and what the energy about it was. What I was focusing on was really getting the ball, that foot, over these, because like a good mentor and a good coach, you know, it's going to tell you. In fact, you can hear and feel when you're on the lugs. You know, there's a, it's very subtle, and you can feel it too. And eventually that tunes out once you figure out where that sweet spot is. But I noticed an energy return difference when I was on the lugs and they were performing nicely, and when I was not. And you know, sometimes like I felt my foot kind of going back here, and then it was maybe around here. Never really did I ever feel that it was completely centered, but you know, I'm not looking through my foot and down into this. I definitely felt some differences from when I was on top of the lugs and when I wasn't. And basically the way to get on top, or actually let's start with off the lugs, is when I'm not really focusing on my footfall and I'm not really focusing on my stride. When I was doing this properly and having the good feedback and the good cues with this shoe, I mean, I'm feeling like I'm in a very decent running posture. Like all the things that they talk about, like I felt my spine go straight, I felt my chest open, I felt my shoulders relax. It almost like when you are doing what this shoe, I believe, is wanting you to do, you can feel your body going into a very nice running posture. And The reason I was saying is it's honest and it's a bit of a coach, and probably the reason I was cramping a minute ago is, you know, basically it's going to be dependent on you and your leg strength and where you are as far as your conditioning. Okay, I mean, we've had so many max stack shoes down here that frankly are a little bit, they're kind of doing some of the running for you. They're doing a little bit of the energy return for you. Here, like I can feel it in my lower legs, man. This is a feeling that I haven't felt in a very long time. And this shoe might still be a little bit old school, especially compared to some of the newer kids. But in its own right, it's still doing the Newton thing. It's still rocking and rolling that Newton way. In fact, once I was done with the run, I really wanted just to do a nice, easy, like a zone 2 run, but it ended up being more of a threshold. And I just went with it because that's what the shoe was wanting me to do. I did try to do some cruising stuff the other day, especially up and down the hills. And again, up and down hills, you know, like if you can figure out where to really maximize that midfoot strike on these lugs, then I think you'll be okay. It probably just needs some practice. I probably just need to be running in these more often just to get my brain tuned back in, because frankly I just been running in all these other shoes, and you know, you can go up and down hills and it's really not that big of a deal. Anyways, the rant is over about that. Throw this on the scale and find out how much it weighs. All right, here is my men's size 11. Ooh, 9.3 ounces. That is really not that bad. It feels lightweight. It's a super lightweight shoe. I mean, there's like nothing to it going on here. And now moving into the outsole, we talked a whole bunch about these lugs and everything, and actually there's quite a bit of sticky rubber here. So I do supinate quite a bit, and just take a look. You know, this is a bit unfair, but I'm just gonna take a look at this shoe here. I mean, look how worn down this lug is. Like all the material has worn away. Again, this shoe was purchased in 2013. And then some of the front camber has worn away as well. But if I recall, that took years for that to happen. Kind of the same thing here. I remember running a half marathon in this shoe, now that I'm thinking about it. And you can kind of see how the material has worn down, especially towards the outside. But again, all of my foot strike comes down right onto here, so there's no rest of the shoe doing the job. In fact, it's probably all coming down to this corner here. So if the durability challenge is going to happen anywhere for this particular shoe, it's going to be right here where my fingers are on any Newton shoe. And so the same case is going to be here. My gait biomechanics have not changed. You know, looking at the rest of the outsole, when I was walking around with it, I did try to feel what was going on with the heel here, and there's quite a bit of sticky rubber here, and then the rest is that that foam, and then there's a little bit of sticky rubber here, but not too much. They really did a good job in keeping the weight down of the overall shoe, I think, with some of the lack of the outsole material. And speaking of heel, I did do some heel striking in the shoe. It felt okay, but it's really this really squishy Newtonium stuff in the back here, and it has nothing to do with this guy here, unless you, I mean, you can consider rolling off, and then maybe you might be getting some benefit of it. But I think the lug benefit is when you come down 100% on this and then you're springing off. And then there's the question of paces, like do these change? And you know what, we might just have to do a special on the lugs and what's going on. I might reach out to Newton to get some more information of exactly, you know, what's going on here. You know, I think I might do that. Just reach out and say, hey, maybe I can have a little bit of background on the lugs, and what do you guys think? I think it's just, you know, whenever you come down nice onto that midfoot and then release that energy is when you get the maximum benefit of these lugs. The shoe is running $155. You know, all things considered, it's not that bad. It's a lightweight shoe. There's a lot of ventilation going on. I actually felt like I was really, really peppy in the shoe. I don't think that's a bad price. I think it more likely can come down to about $145-ish, but we'll see how things go. And then there's a couple of other shoes that go along, you know, kind of in the same category as well. So easy day. long distances, I can see that happening actually quite nicely with this shoe. You know, I would not really do a whole bunch of fast stuff in the shoe. I mean, there are better choices from Newton for the fast stuff. I feel like it would be nice to get a hold of the distance and the gravity and see where that's at these days. Maybe the distance elite and see what's going on. I know they just came out with a carbon plated shoe, but frankly, I'm just not interested in that. You know, I'm kind of more the non-plate. I'm doing a lot of non-plated shoes, even though I did the Mach X too. But I'm just enjoying kind of the more natural stuff here. In fact, you know, now that I mention that, if you like ground feel, so who is this shoe for? Let's answer that. This shoe is definitely for a midfoot striker, a higher cadence runner that, you know, is looking for some honest tactile feedback from their footwear. That likes ground contact, that does not need a ton of stack. Actually, anybody who's doing a little bit of cornering, having some tight cornering, this shoe actually did really well because it's not super high off the ground. You know, I really felt like I was able to kind of speed blade my way around with this shoe, even though I'm on the lugs here. So that's something, and the way that it fit on the upper. I don't know if I would use this shoe exclusively, because it's so dependent on one specific way of running and one particular cadence, etc., etc. I would add this into a rotation. I might even consider just having a Newton shoe just to have a little bit of a different experience, something that's almost like a metronome that you're running on. Just to give you a little bit of a different ride and perhaps kind of, you know, sharpen up some of that midfoot striking and really get honed in. And I, again, feel like my lower leg muscles got worked with this one a lot more than some of the other shoes. So that is it for the Newton Running Momentum. Man, what an interesting shoe. I'm still going to be thinking about this one. And Newton, if you're listening, thank you so much. If I didn't mention it before, Newton did send me these shoes for the purposes of testing and review. They did not get an opportunity to see this material before it got released to you guys. So you're getting the full scoop, lugs and all. Anyways, my name is Jason. I'm a dad. You know, I like to run, but I am all about family and coffee and running shoes. We even brought a new coffee mug down here. And there's something super special that has happened. You guys, with your efforts and watching my videos and subscribing to my channel, got me past the 500 subscriber mark. You know, and that's what YouTube calls them, but we are on the same page. We are runners. Whatever your demographic, whatever led you to this channel, whatever caused you to click subscribe, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, every time I turn on the YouTube app and I see that there's more folks joining the channel and hanging out, coming down here in the Shoe Lab, and I know that you have a choice for other shoe tubers out there, other folks that are looking at running shoes, other folks that are talking about running and racing. I am brand new to the scene and you guys are giving me a chance. So again, I deeply thank you for that. Thank you so much. And that said, please click like. And if you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe. Come along for the journey. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Happy fall, everybody, and have a wonderful day.